What day is it? I have no idea.
I'm so tired.
You're just gonna come up here and go to...
So I'm crossing my fingers. It's not gonna take long to run out of momentum, to be honest. Hey guys, so it's the next day, the 24th of March, and I just wanted to do a bit of an update. If you were wondering, I did get a prom dress. I'll put a picture here of me and Sarah in our dresses. I'm very excited about mine. I was like, I don't want a girly dress, and then I got a princess dress. Anyway, so as an update for writing, I didn't do any writing yesterday because I was very, very tired and I was working really hard on my oil painting. So by the time I finished, it was very late. I was very tired, so I just answered some asks about my book instead of writing. But today, Sarah and I were talking a little bit about transferring my book from the sort of dystopian-ish to very much litfic. So I mentioned this in my talking about all my books video, but Fostered, the series, started out as a young adult dystopian series. So books 1 to 3 are very YA dystopian. Book 4 and 5, they have like dystopian elements, but I don't know if a young adult audience would be really, I think they still like were written for a young adult audience, but I don't think that the content could be suitable for a young adult audience. I'm not sure. So that one's like kind of a gray area. And then book 6 that I'm working on right now is definitely adult litfic. So the problem is I took it from dystopian to contemporary litfic, which means there's still some dystopian elements in the contemporary world, which was where all my ideas from many years ago that I still have to sort of wrap up and continue to write are based in. So Sarah and I were just sort of discussing how to take the book from dystopian young adult to adult litfic that's very, very contemporary. And that has been a struggle. I actually think I'm going to do a vlog in itself on that because that's going to be sort of doing preliminary stuff for book 7. So that's kind of difficult because there's definitely still dystopian elements that are carrying through, and I don't mind them. It's just like they don't really fit the voice and the audience that I'm writing for. So I do have a ghost busting alliance in book 7, which I'm really digging. We love literary ghosts. I like the direction that this book is going in. It's just kind of difficult to, even the beginning of book 6 still has some more YA dystopian elements, like not as much, but the beginning segues into the very litfic-y parts of the book, which is why I would classify it under that genre. But basically the Fostered series is just a whole hot mess, and that's just my feelings on it right now. But in terms of writing today, I don't want to make any hard plans because I suck at plans. But I definitely would like to write something. My scene is going pretty well, I think, though I'm not really sure where it's going. But I also started tinkering with a new idea of like writing a lot more about Reeve's mother when she's like Reeve's age now, because there's so much tea there. Like, should I just start a new series, guys? Let me know. That whole family is just so screwed up that there's so much content that I could write about. But hey guys, so it's almost 9 in the morning on, what day is it? Like I don't know, like March 25th or something. But I have a very chill day today because I'm actually off school right now. We just had a day off because there's a test going on where other kids in the school can't be there for the whole day, which is great for me. So I have the whole day off. It's Wednesday, which is nice because I really needed the midweek break. This week has been really exhausting. It has been a very chill week, which is good. However, for some reason I've just been coming home and like falling asleep. This is how beautiful it's looking outside. Hey guys, so it's still the same day. I just wanted to do an update. I'm about to film a video reading from all my books because somebody on Tumblr asked, so I thought, you know what, let's give the folks what they want. So I'll just further embarrass myself. But I still haven't gone to writing. I just constantly never write. Is this an issue? I could basically do guys, so it is March 28th and I wanted to do a bit of an update. Yesterday, on my day off, I actually spent a majority of it filming and editing a video for you guys, which is already up right now, and I think people are liking it, so I'm happy. That video was of me narrating all of my projects, like a sequel to talking about all my books, even though no one asked. Yesterday I actually did quite a bit of an edit on this scene that I'm working on. It's kind of weird. It's the same scene that I was working on in writing vlog number 5, where it was like the psychic distance was kind of off, and it doesn't feel weird, just like, I don't know, I was like, I don't know about this, but I think I fixed it so that it feels a little bit more in the moment and not like so distant. It was very distant. So that went pretty well. Hopefully I can finish the chapter soon. It's kind of giving me a hard time though, which is frustrating. I hate when chapters give me a hard time. But anyway, I'm gonna do all my work and hopefully I can get to writing. I always get to writing so late though. I got to writing at like 9 o'clock yesterday and I was already really tired at that point, but. Do y'all see that? There's so much snow. It's April! What? That is so unfair. Do you see that? That must have happened last night. That's nuts. There's so much snow. Tomorrow is the first day of April. What the heck? This is no longer winter. It's spring. What is this? Oh no. Oh no no. Hey guys, it's Sunday, March 31st. And I want to do another update on what's happening with the book. So I was recently talking to Sarah and a few friends about just what's happening with the book, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm kind of stuck. And I know I am stuck, and I know how to fix my problem, I just haven't done it. So I'm stuck because Reeve is basically on her own in New York, and I know I was mentioning this in writing vlog number 5, because she basically leaves her family and at a motel. She just sort of stays while they like, and then like leaves without them knowing. So her whole purpose in doing that, let's see if I can fix my problem. Her whole purpose in doing that is because she wants to like sort of start letting go of things, and she's kind of scoping out her new life, kind of, because at the beginning of book 7, here's a spoiler. This doesn't matter, you're never gonna read this book, so might as well share everything, right? So in the beginning of book 7, she has moved to New York City, and she's been living there for a few months, like almost a year. So this is me trying to propel her into that, because when she's living in New York City, she's living under a different name, different life. She doesn't talk about her family. It's like a completely new person. It's kind of like the Reeve that was always meant to be. Like for books 1 to, I think, about 4, I was trying really hard to make her really likable. Like, I'm not gonna lie, actually, from books 1 to 5, maybe, I was still consciously trying to make her likable. And I don't think Reeve is unlikable. I was just like playing into a really, I think, toxic stereotype that like all women need to be like perfect and they need to be sweet and they can't have an attitude, if not they're a bitch. Like, it's kind of like the stereotype where like you have to be a strong independent woman, but it has to be under this and this, like you have to follow a rubric in order to be the strong independent woman. And I found that in a lot of the books that I was reading at the time, it wasn't that they were like perpetuating that, it was just I found a lot of the protagonists, like I started writing Fostered when I was 13. I had just turned 13, so this was in 2014, and a lot of the protagonists in the books I was reading were very similar in their traits. I'm not gonna say that they were all the same character, because they weren't, but it was still under this like people have to like your protagonist, sort of. I was still under that assumption that that was a thing that needed to happen. Like, it didn't matter if they had this negative personality trait or if they were innately toxic. Like, it doesn't matter, you gotta cover that up and make them positive. And I don't think this was anything anybody was telling me. It was just like sort of something I picked up on, definitely from the books I was reading. Not that they were perpetuating anything negative. It was just sort of being accidentally influenced. That strong independent women don't have to fit under that specific module that I think I know we're all talking about. I really wanted Reeve to fit into that module. So like, I wanted Reeve to be somebody who was saving others, and I wanted her to be heroic in a sense. I wanted her to be a positive role model that still made mistakes, but I was expecting a lot of her, and that's fine. I think the expectation was fine, but it was the wrong expectation because I was expecting her to be like all of the protagonists that I was reading. And there's nothing wrong with those protagonists. I really like those protagonists, especially that can sort of buckle down and really become a leader when they need to. But I realized only when I was writing book 6, basically, this book that I'm writing, that Reeve is not that person. She is not a good role model, I wouldn't say. In some, like, I guess, like, overall, I would say. I think in some things she can teach people things, but she's not that cookie cutter person that I had thought she had to be, and I was trying so hard. I remember I would read my chapters to Sarah, and Sarah used to be like, Reeve is being like, I'm not blaming Sarah, by the way. I think it was also sort of influenced by what we were reading, watching, so on. So she's like, Reeve like is really bugging me in this chapter. Like, I think she's so like mean and like really like ungrateful kind of, and like she's being dramatic and basically big drama queen. And while both things were true, it was hard for me to sort of swallow that because I was like, I want her to be this likable person that everybody sort of falls in love with. They're like, yeah, she's a little bit abrasive, but like, you know what? She's in it for the good of people. She's a leader. When in reality, it took me until writing from book 6. So I went from being 13 years old. It took me until I was 17. I started writing book 6 when I was 16, and I'm almost 18, but oh god. And it took me 3-4 years to finally realize that Reeve being this super likable, badass female heroine isn't what she's supposed to be. And yes, I think she's kind of a badass, and I think, no, she's not kind of a she is a badass, and she knows. But she like realized that she didn't need to please everybody. And the thing is, I wouldn't say that Reeve is unlikable. I know, like, I've been sort of using that word, like, likability. I don't think she's unlikable because I love her, and I know a lot of my friends love her. I realize that Reeve's job is not to please you, okay? So if you think that she's being dramatic, if you think that she's being selfish, like, that's who she is. But at the end of the day, she doesn't really care because that's who she is. In this new phase of her life in book 7, she's really embracing that. She's embracing who she actually is as a person. And it's the person that was always there because she was always annoying and she was always ungrateful and she was always dramatic. But the thing is, I was trying to fix that. And it didn't need to be fixed. It wasn't a flaw in how I was writing her because I thought that because people were saying that she was being unlikable and she was being dramatic, that this was a flaw in her character and I was writing her incorrectly. When in reality, I was just not accepting her for who she actually was as a character. It's funny because back when I was writing like book 3, I knew that like anti-heroes could exist, and obviously I knew antagonists could exist. Like Lonan was my anti-hero for like the entirety of book 3. I knew they could exist, and the thing is, I was like, I knew I could like the anti-hero and I knew I could like an antagonist. I just for some reason couldn't like Reeve in the way I liked these bad characters because she was supposed to be the protagonist, when in reality it felt like she was the one that was sort of being the antagonist to her story. So I couldn't really grasp or really understand why I wanted to continue making her this really awful person, when in reality that's just who she is. So it took a lot of accepting for me to sort of get into her mind, and I think since I've done that, I've written her a lot more accurately. This is a new phase in her life. She's always had her friends, even when she didn't. For like books 1 to 6, she's always had her support system. And in book 7, it's different because yes, she still has them. Yes, they exist. They didn't die. They're still alive. She knows how to contact them. The problem is she doesn't want to. So she started her new life under the name Evie. And that was a childhood nickname that her sister gave to her, which I mentioned multiple times in book 3. I just sort of dropped it because her sister died and I reincarnated her. This is my book. I can do what I want. So, she has changed her life so completely that I feel like I'm gonna lose sight of her and I'm gonna lose her. And like, this sounds so dramatic, but like, I have been writing with Ree for 5 years and I have grown up with Ree. I was 13 when I created her and I'm turning 18 in a few months. So I started elementary school, went through all of high school, and I'm going to start university and probably finish university writing her since I'm so slow. So she's a character that is incredibly dear to my heart. I just never appreciated her, and now that she is, I didn't appreciate her until recently, and I feel like I lost all of that time where I could have been really loving her. Like, I love Harrison, and like I love Lona, and like I love Foster, and I like loved the boys so much, but I never paid attention to my lady, and now I feel like she's grown up and she's like leaving me in book 7, and I'm like, sis, I know I'm the only one in your friend group that you're allowing to take on your journey into your new like forbidden life that like nobody else knows about. So like, yes, I feel special, like my girl's taking me along with her because I'm writing it. But in that way, I think I sort of feel kind of scared that I'm gonna lose sight of who she is, even though I know who Evie is and I know who Reeve is, and I know that there probably needs to be more of a distinction. Maybe that's it. I think I just created an epiphany. The idea of losing Reeve to somebody else, like to this new persona, or just not knowing her, is weird to me. And it's probably because she's not a teenager anymore. I've been writing Reeve as a teenager, and while she was 19 for probably around 2 years of me writing this series because I've taken so long. It's crazy. She started as 15-year-old and then 16-year-old, 17, 18, 19. So like I followed her through as much of her life as she's followed me. So like she's so sentimental that I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get you when you're 20, which I think I will, because I know I do. Anyway, that's enough for this crisis. Okay, so like this is gonna be a really weird update because I think I might just end my book. It's April 1st, 2019, and basically I've been struggling for the last 3 weeks figuring out an ending, and I had an ending planned, and guess what? Who's not gonna follow the plan? Me. Why do I make plans? I've been trying to follow this structure that I've come up with for this novel to end, and I'll talk about it. And I came up with it probably a few months ago, maybe in Christmas. The plan was Reeve was going to actually go to Boston, where HQ is the last remnants of dystopian in this novel. So their house, basically, the house. I'm not gonna explain what it actually is because it's just pathetic, but their house, she was gonna go back there and then sort of make her way through closing off these really toxic things that happened to her. So there's 3 main toxic things that have happened to her. Something happened with like where a female character named Glenn betrayed her, so she's gonna tie off everything that happened with Glenn first, and then Emily, who has just wronged her and just sort of made her feel vulnerable like for the first time in forever. She's finally gonna get sort of her revenge and sort of close things off, and Reeve is doing this to start a new life. And then she will go from Emily to closing off her remnant relationship with Lincoln, who is someone she had like a very bad abusive relationship with. So she's gonna close off the last 3 bad things that happened to her, and that was the plan. And then she was going to leave HQ. Oh my god, that sounds so stupid. It's like, it sounds stupid to say in my lit fic book. But yeah, she was gonna leave home in Boston and then go to New York and then start her new life, and that's been the plan. But I think I realized that I'm not going to stick to that plan. In the last chapter I wrote, which I actually vlogged in writing vlog number 5, Bad Habits, the one that I just wrote, which is chapter 23, I realized that I could just end it there because I was having an issue. Reeve was at a motel and she and Darren continually make bad decisions. The next morning she's feeling like a literal queen, like she feels like a god. Like, this will get blasphemic. So, and I don't want to offend anybody, so I'm just giving that warning. The content gets a little bit blasphemic. There's lots of blasphemy, so definitely tread carefully if that's something that you would be sensitive to. Self-proclaims herself as God, and so because she's been able to win over Darren, she feels like she can do anything. So she's like, you know, I could do this thing that was never gonna happen, so I'm gonna do whatever I want, and that means I can start my life all over again. So I realized that Bad Habits basically has the entire arc that I need to sum up, and I was just looking over it, and the chapter is made up of a few scenes, and the scene before it is Reeve saying goodbye to Foster, and I think that's really important because she has a good conversation with him and their relationship. I have it all in my writing update, so if you want to hear more of this, I'll put that down below. But yeah, her relationship with Foster has been very different in terms of romantic relationships, and they're no longer together, and I don't think they're ever gonna really be together in the same way, at least if they ever get back together, which I doubt. So I think Reeve ended the story, and I've been sitting here like an idiot for a month trying to figure out why nothing that I'm writing is working. Like, I started this so many times, the end of this book so many times. I've been trying to write this so many times, and nothing that I'm writing fits. And I realized today, this whole scene I wrote, she meets this guy named Perry, and the whole scene that I wrote with Perry seems like it should be somewhere else. It doesn't seem like it belongs in this book, and this is not the end of the book I was actually thinking was going to happen, and I'm gonna sit on it, but I think I'm just gonna end it at Bad Habits. And I literally shared all of the excerpts from the last chapter already, and I thought I was gonna write another one, and I've been trying, but I realized that I think I'm just going to end it at Bad Habit. Reeve literally was like, Rachel, you dumb bitch. The story ended. Why are you still trying to write it? And I thought that the end that I had planned out was the end that needed to happen, but now that I'm thinking about it, like, she doesn't care that much. Like, Reeve, like, obviously these relationships have really affected her and they've really hurt her, but Reeve is trying to be honest with herself. She's being like bullshit honest, but she's like, I'm so honest, like, I'm the most honest person, I'm the best person. So in doing that, she's acknowledging that she's never going to get over these things that have happened to her, so she's running away from them. So why would she try to go back like I had planned and then fix those things in her eyes so then she could move on? Reeve cares about these things that have happened to her, but she doesn't care about pleasing people. She doesn't care about wrapping things up in a way that is effective for both people. She doesn't care about compromise. Everything is about her and about her journey. I'm literally having a crisis, and I'm gonna sleep on this and then cry. This was not how this book was supposed to end. I wanted Reeve to go to New York City and then just to scope out her new life, and then she's gonna go back to Boston and then end her old life and then go back to New York City and then start her new life, which I'm like, why? That would not make any sense in terms of like her character development. That's way too, and she would never go back home after she went to New York City, because that's where she wants to be. She knows what she needs to do. So I think I'm gonna end it here. I don't know if it's as weird for you guys to hear this. It's just weird because I finished that chapter literally weeks ago. I was thinking that I was gonna like set the camera up for the last chapter. I'm gonna like write it and be like, and then turn to the camera and be like, oh my god guys, you won't believe I just finished my book. But like now it's just me being like, did I just finish my book by accident and not realize? Hey guys, so I wanted to do a bit of an update because I think I just officially finished the book, I think. So basically I just sort of slightly expanded the last bit of Bad Habits, which is the chapter I already wrote an update on. I added just like 2 sentences to the end so that it felt more like an arc. So I guess the book is done now. I honestly don't know how to feel because it doesn't feel momentous. Like, because I kind of have been chipping away at other things and this was not how it was supposed to end. The end was just sitting there the whole time and like I didn't realize. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Saint Christopher to find your sister. She